Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are taking a Best Picture crash course. Now hopefully from the day that I get this uploaded we are exactly 4 weeks away, 1 month away from the Oscar ceremony. There's a chance I may be off by a day or two when I actually get this uploaded, but we should be about 4 weeks exactly from the ceremony. So I wanted to start this year's kind of my Oscar content with this video. I've done this a little bit later in the past, but this year I kind of got to a little bit early. So explaining what this video is, I've done it for I think the last 3 years, maybe 4, probably just 3. But what this is this Best Picture crash course. I have now officially seen every Best Picture winner once. So in this video, we're just going to rank them 10 to 1 on first watch, and then I'm going to give a lot of kind of like additional context of like what the film's rated, who I'd recommend the film for, other nominations, pretty much like all the information if you're just not familiar with the Oscars this season and what is kind of up for nominations. We're just going to talk about the Best Picture films, rank them 10 to 1, and then give you kind of a lot of additional context. And then later on, over the next month, I'm going to do my category breakdown series, and then we'll do a Best Picture category breakdown, and from there, I kind of give you my personal and prediction rankings and stuff in those, and so we'll see if anything's updated, because I'm going to watch. I've essentially seen everything in here, I think, multiple times already, except for, I think maybe there's 3 films that I haven't seen multiple times yet. Maybe 4. But the ones I haven't seen multiple times, I'll give them additional rewatches, and then when we get to that Best Picture category breakdown, we'll kind of reassess about, maybe a week or so before the actual Oscar ceremony. So without further ado, let's take a look at that ranking. Coming in at number 10, Train Dreams. Screenplay by Clint Bentley and Greg Quitar. Directed by Clint Bentley. A logger leads a life of quiet grace as he experiences love and loss during an era of monumental change in early 20th century America. The film stars Joel Edgerton, Felicity Jones, and Nathaniel Arcand. Train Dreams is rated PG-13 for some violence and sexuality. Now, I do want to start off this year by saying how stacked the Best Picture race is this year, because this seems insane to me that Train Dreams is at number 10, because I really like Train Dreams. Typically, every single year at the Oscars, there's at least one that I think, like one Best Picture nominee that I think is bad, and then there's like 1, 2, 3, somewhere in that range of like, I think they're okay, but like not my favorite. I wouldn't have voted for them for Best Picture. And then all of a sudden this year, it is 10 just amazing films. Like I love all of these films. It is a very kind of unfortunate group to be like something had to be 10, and so that's where Train Dreams currently sits. But again, I love Train Dreams. The one thing with Train Dreams is it just isn't why it finds itself kind of lower than everything else is, unfortunately, I mean, the pacing is very deliberate and it's very intentional. It's supposed to be this slow, quiet, more reserved and film, and that's exactly what it is, and it is beautiful. And I think in order for that type of film to work, it does have to have that beautiful cinematography, and that's exactly what Train Dreams does have. Unfortunately, I just don't think it quite kind of stacks up to everything else. And I should have mentioned this probably a little bit earlier, but I guess I'll go ahead and mention it now in the first video, or the first film that we're talking about, that again, during those category breakdown series that I'm going to be talking about over the next month, we're going to go into every single category. So there's going to be times where we're talking about the cinematography, editing, screenplays, the production design, the visual effects, like everything like that. So in this video, it's all going to be very brief, a minute or two, just kind of explanations on these films, because we're going to be talking about these films a whole lot more and all of these very specific crafts over the next month. Train Dreams is available to stream on Netflix. The film is also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and Best Original Song. And I would recommend this film to anyone who enjoys slower-paced character studies with beautiful visuals. Coming in at number 9, The Secret Agent. Screenplay by Kleber Mendonça Filho, directed by Kleber Mendonça Filho. In 1977 Brazil, technology specialist Marcel, fleeing a mysterious past, returns to Recife in search of peace, but realizes the city is far from the refuge he seeks. The film stars Wagner Moura, Carlos Francisco, and Tania Maria. The Secret Agent is rated R for strong bloody violence, sexual content, language, and some full nudity. And The Secret Agent was actually the last one to get checked off the list. I finally was able to rent this. It's finally available to rent now, so saw this last night. And again, The Secret Agent is another one that it's insane that this is all the way at 9. But there are just so many films that I just love. I think honestly, like The Secret Agent and Train Dreams are the two that I've given like 4 stars. Everything from here down is 4.5 or 5-star films for me. Like it's just such a stacked year for Best Picture. The Secret Agent, there is a lot about it that is kind of has the same thing with Train Dreams in a sense, where like there's times where it is a little bit slower paced, but Train Dreams is just kind of like a slower pace because it's this it's just trying to kind of get you into this space, this time period, and really just kind of lulls you into like what the film is. This is slower paced because it's a mystery thriller, and it's this like slow burn that's kind of like leading you there. Like it's probably around, the first act of the film, the first hour and change of the film, where you're kind of following this character and you don't quite have the whole picture of what's going on. You don't know everything. You can tell there is something going on, that the character isn't quite what is being presented. There's something going on, but you're not exactly sure what it is. And then the film, kind of around the halfway mark, there's this big long scene. Like I was impressed by how long it is, because it's this scene that's very beautifully done, because it's like long, but it's cutting to the future, it's cutting to the past, it's cutting to like all these different things during this long kind of sit down scene. And so it was just so beautifully kind of edited and put together, and it really kind of again paints the whole picture. And then you have a third act, you have the final kind of end of the film where you kind of understand the whole picture, and it just gets really tense and goes from there. And so it's this film that kind of slowly gets you there, but when it gets there, it really kind of picks up, and it's like, oh, like we're in for a serious ending here. There is a lot kind of going on, and so I think it's really beautifully done. Wagner Moura, because I saw him win the Globe, and he's kind of this big front runner. I was almost expecting kind of more of like a big powerhouse, kind of like what I was expecting last year before seeing Fernanda Torres's film and seeing her performance. I was kind of going in the same thing because of all the buzz and everything around it. I was expecting this big, just loud and in-your-face performance, and I think Fernanda Torres has a couple moments where she kind of gets there. Wagner Moura really doesn't kind of get there. It's a lot more subtle, it's a lot more quiet and reserved, but it's one of those things that for The Secret Agent being a 2-hour and 40-minute film where he's on screen 85% of the time, it feels like, and he's just kind of commanding it through, again, more so of a subtle and kind of calming performance in the face of kind of all this stress and this anxiety and this danger that's going on, and he's still just kind of fairly reserved about it all. I think that's what made the performance incredible. Again, I love The Secret Agent. It's just a shame when it's so stacked that some things had to kind of be at the bottom. The Secret Agent is available to rent. The film was also nominated for Best Actor for Wagner Moura, Best International Feature, and Best Casting, and I would recommend this film to anyone who enjoys political thrillers. Coming in at number 8, F1. Screenplay by Aaron Kruger, directed by Joseph Kosinski. Racing legend Sonny Hayes is coaxed out of retirement to lead a struggling Formula One team and mentor a young hotshot driver while chasing one more chance at glory. The film stars Brad Pitt, Damson Idra, and Javier Bardem. F1 is rated PG-13 for strong language and action. And I think maybe this was, for me, like the biggest surprise when I was kind of putting this all together, because when F1 got that nomination, I remember so many people were kind of, having statements of like, oh, that shouldn't have been a Best Picture nominee, and at first I kind of was like thinking that some people were talking about it in the sense of they just didn't think it was worthy of Best Picture, like that it was a good film, but it's just like it's not a Best Picture film. And then I found out that there's a lot of people that were talking about it in the sense that they think F1 is bad. They don't think it's a good movie, and so it shouldn't be nominated, which is crazy because I remember going in when I saw this in theaters the first time kind of being a little like, I don't think I'm going to like it, and then all of a sudden being like, oh no, I actually really love this. And so I loved the film from first watch. When I saw it back in, oh wow, when did this come out? June? Something like that? When I saw it forever ago, I kind of, like, no way in my mind did I think that's the Best Picture nominee. I thought it was, like, a good film that was going to be kind of in the consideration for, like, visual effects or sound and the things that it kind of was eventually. But then also got Best Picture out of it. And so I just think that F1 it's a phenomenal film, and it's one of those that I've talked about it a couple times on my channel now, where I kind of like didn't think I was going to really enjoy the film because I'm just not a big Formula One fan in general. But again, you don't apparently you don't have to be into Formula One to really enjoy this film. And if you like Top Gun Maverick, like if you like that, the sports films that kind of have the or not even necessarily just sports films, but kind of these racing or vehicle kind of based films that are high paced, high intensity, a lot of action. Like obviously this is going to be kind of right up your alley. And the film, it's a very kind of stacked film with the cast, because obviously you just talked about those Pitt, Idris, Bardem, but there's also Kerry Condon, who's excellent, and then you have a whole lot of kind of like supporting characters that don't necessarily have as much lines as kind of those are kind of the main four, I would say, of the film. But you get a lot of characters that they just are maybe kind of there for a scene or two, or maybe they're just part of the pit crew, or they're part of drawing a blank on what his name is, Idris's character, but they're maybe his mom or his agent, kind of part of that crew, or you just kind of get all of these different people that are kind of there. There's like that reporter that kind of keeps popping up. You got the guy that's trying to I'm drawing a blank on that actor's name, but that's trying to like buy the team and is kind of undermining them behind the scenes. There's a whole lot just kind of going on that is just creates this drama. All the acting is excellent, and again, it's just this treat with its sound and its the editing, the pacing. There's so many just kind of beautiful like split screen shots where you're watching both Brad Pitt and Dempsey Idris, and so you're just kind of watching this film. It's just very kind of expertly told, and I just had a blast with this film. F1 is available to stream on Apple TV. The film is also nominated for Best Editing, Best Sound, and Best Visual Effects. And I would recommend this film to anyone who enjoys sports movies or high-speed action. Coming in at number 7, Frankenstein. Written for the screen by Guillermo del Toro, directed by Guillermo del Toro. Dr. Victor Frankenstein, a brilliant but egotistical scientist, brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and its tragic creation. The film stars Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, and Christoph Waltz. Frankenstein is rated R for bloody violence and grisly images. Now again, part of this whole series, or part of I guess I should say this whole channel, is, the world's worst cinephile. It's one of those that, like, I like watching movies, I watch a lot of movies, but it's like, would never consider myself a cinephile, because there's so many classics, there's so many things that I haven't seen, and this is kind of one of those. I just was not familiar with Frankenstein. I was familiar in the sense I knew that there was Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, and he brings him back from the dead, and it's this monster. And that was essentially kind of what I knew about the film, or knew about just the Frankenstein story in general. And so seeing this film, I kind of was going in expecting it to be this horror film, which obviously, it's a horror film, but I was expecting it to be this horror film that is so focused on this monster and the evil things that this monster does, and how bad it was that Victor Frankenstein brought him to life, and I was expecting it to just kind of be more centered around this villain, this monster. And I've said it multiple times on the channel, and I'm going to continue saying it over the next month as we're going into this Oscar season. The more and more we talk about Frankenstein, the more and more caught off guard I was by the beauty of kind of the end of the film, by the realization of the role between the creator and the monster, and what was he created for, and all of these things. And it just kind of brings to this like emotional point that I was like, I was not expecting, not that I cried or got super teary-eyed, but I was moved emotionally. And the way that you're moved emotionally is really, it's from Jacob Elordi. His performance as the creature is amazing, and I think it was like pretty quickly that I realized it. I think it was kind of the scenes that he had with Mia Goth that is kind of like you're seeing this another human, another person that is kind of very interested in him, but more so in like an intimate way of, I guess not intimate is maybe not the best word, but kind of more of a personal way, and is like really cares for this creature and wants to understand what it is and understand what makes it, how is it alive, how is it, all of this, and all of a sudden you just kind of get this humanity that kind of comes from that relationship in the one or two scenes that they kind of have together. And then another scene kind of a little bit later in the film, but you kind of get this humanity of the creature that I wasn't expecting, and then you kind of get the second act really or maybe not quite the second act, but kind of like in the middle of the film, we follow the creature more so than following Dr. Frankenstein, and so you're following this this creature and seeing again his eye, like through his eyes, humanity and everything, and it just kind of became this very beautiful and touching film. And maybe I should have expected that with a Guillermo del Toro film, which ultimately, I've seen it. I feel like a fair amount of Guillermo del Toro films, but not a whole ton. But I've seen enough to know that I should have expected maybe a little bit more of a humanity approach, a more kind of beautiful, delicate kind of approach to the characters, and that's really what it was. And so Frankenstein, it just caught me off guard by how much I was moved. Frankenstein is available to stream on Netflix. The film is also nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Jacob Elordi, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Sound, and Best Score. And I would recommend the film to anyone who enjoys Guillermo del Toro's style and monster films with heart. Coming in at number 6, Begonia. Screenplay by Will Tracy, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Two conspiracy-obsessed young men kidnap the high-powered CEO of a major company, convinced that she is an alien, intent on destroying planet Earth. The film stars Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Aidan Delbus. Begonia is rated R for bloody violent content, including a suicide, grisly images, and language. Now, Begonia was a lot of fun for me when I saw it in theaters because I've seen a good amount, maybe just about all actually, of Yorgos Lanthimos' filmography. And I would say that from his filmography, I like basically everything he's made. I think Kinds of Kindness is maybe the one that I should probably rewatch it, because there were some things I liked, but overall I just didn't like the whole film. But I would say I like pretty much all of Yorgos Lanthimos' filmography, but like I'm at like, and I see everyone else loves it, and so it's kind of one of those directors that I'm like, I agree that it's all good and it's all fun, but then when I see how much everyone loves all of his films, I just kind of always felt like I maybe just wasn't the biggest Yorgos Lanthimos fan, or I didn't quite connect with him in a way that I think a lot of other people do. And then I saw Begonia, and it was immediately one of those where like everything just clicked for me, and it was so fun and exciting and kind of scary at times, and maybe not scary, but like intense, and just this thing that I'm like, I don't know exactly what I'm watching, and all of a sudden just watching this all unfold, I was like, this is a blast. I'm having a whole lot of fun with this. And it was one of those that I remember leaving that theater thinking, is Begonia my favorite film by Yorgos Lanthimos? And I probably would have to like rewatch a couple of his films. I think Killing of a Sacred Deer was the first Yorgos Lanthimos film I ever saw, and to have that be like your first introduction to it when like you don't really know his style and you don't know what he's going for. I remember like liking the film, but being kind of like, I have no idea what I just watched. So I maybe need to rewatch this whole filmography before I can like definitively say that. But as of right now, I think Begonia is my favorite of all of his films, because it's just the way that it's told, the kind of the shocking moments, the it's kind of the humor that's baked into the situation. Emma Stone does an amazing job of kind of playing dumb and kind of playing down. It feels like she's playing down to our character's level, but then there's like these scenes where all of a sudden you get these moments where Jesse Plemons and I think it's Aidan Delbus, I think is how you say his name, where all of a sudden their characters are kind of making a little bit more sense, and it seems like that they're onto something, and then all of a sudden you just kind of get Emma Stone's reaction to them or her acting, and then you're just like, no, these two are idiots. And so it's like this film that's kind of back and forth where you just don't really know exactly what's going on. It feels like things can go either way. There's just a whole lot of kind of mystery baked into it, and then it just has some of the most fun and like out there scenes for me, scenes that are just like so memorable that I'm just going to remember this film for so long. And for me, that's just part of the reason that it's a film that is just going to stick with me, and I truly love it. Begonia is available to stream on Peacock. The film is also nominated for Best Actress for Emma Stone, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Original Score. And I would recommend the film to anyone who enjoys Yorgos Lanthimos' filmography and suspenseful mysteries with absurd premises. Coming in at number 5, Sentimental Value. Written by Escobar and Joachim Trier. Directed by Joachim Trier. Sisters Nora and Agnes reunite with their estranged father, the charismatic Gustav, a once renowned director who offers stage actress Nora a role in what he hopes will be his comeback film. When Nora turns it down, she soon discovers he has given her part to an eager young Hollywood star. The film stars Renata Reinsve, Stellan Skarsgård, and Inga Ipsdottir Liljeus. Sentimental Value is rated R for some language, including a sexual reference and brief nudity. Now, Sentimental Value is one that I knew I was going to love before I even saw it, because I just love stories, especially if it's like an intimate kind of family drama that is just kind of told, you know, from an excellent filmmaker in Joachim Trier, kind of told through multiple characters' perspectives. You kind of have this one kind of central, like, plot, right? You have this estranged father. He's making a film, and he's talking to his daughters, and he's trying to get one of them to act in it, and then eventually he's trying to get the other daughter's son to act in it. And it's this father who kind of abandoned the family. He's kind of estranged, and he's trying to come back, and he's just trying to reconnect with his family. And then, but then you get you get Nora, you get Renata Reinsve's character, who is an actress herself. Like she has gone on to become an actress, and does like stage plays and stuff, and you see her relationship with acting, her relationship with her father, and how this just doesn't work. How she doesn't think she can work with him. Then you've got you got Inge Ipsdottir Lilje's character, who used to be an actor, was like amazing as a child actor in this film, but then that whole experience kind of ruined her, and so she doesn't want to act anymore. So she's kind of hesitant to letting her son act in her father's film. And so you get it's this big kind of central event, but then you've got all of these different characters' viewpoints on this specific thing, and then you've got Elle Fanning's character kind of coming in as this Hollywood star that is now kind of taking over the role that should have gone to Nora, to Renata Reinsve's character, and how her kind of dynamic to the film, how she kind of like is trying to understand the character but doesn't quite understand what's going on. She's trying to decide if the role should even go to her, because it's clearly written for someone like in a different race, and so she's wondering, or not a different race, but a different country, different background, and so she's trying to understand, should I put on an accent, because obviously this film should be told in this other accent. And then she's like, well, shouldn't it even just be told in that language? And so you get kind of all of these interesting dynamics that are working from all of these different characters, all trying to figure out how to make this film work, but also kind of protect themselves and understand that, again, protecting themselves in the situation of like they don't want to put themselves into these situations, they don't want to be in it. And so it's just this very kind of beautiful drama that is expertly acted. There's not a whole lot of, there's maybe one or two kind of, not even really yelling, but just kind of like very serious conversation scenes. It's not like a family drama where there's just constant yelling and bickering and we're all getting at each other's throats. It's very intimate, and it's one-on-one conversations, and sometimes there is like a bigger group, but it's still mostly kind of one character doing something, and then maybe people kind of reacting to the character. So it's all just told in a very kind of intimate and beautiful perspective that I truly love. And Renata Reinsve, I think I've only seen her in The Worst Person in the World, A Different Man, and now this. I think those are the only 3 films I've seen her in, but she is becoming one of my favorite actresses. She is phenomenal. And Inge Ipsdottir Lilje, I was kind of looking her up, and she's done some other films. I don't know if they're all kind of like Norwegian-based films, but obviously it's stuff I haven't seen. So I hope she continues to make films. I don't know if she's exactly going to come over and be like Renata Reinsve, where she kind of starts to do some A Different Man does some kind of Hollywood productions. Hopefully she does, but again, hopefully just if she's making any more films with Joachim Trier or just other films, like hopefully I continue to find some of her films, because she's excellent in this. She's by far kind of my favorite, or my second favorite, I guess, behind Renata. My second kind of favorite actor in here, but obviously Stellan Skarsgård, Elle Fanning, they're amazing as well. We'll talk about all of them a little bit more in depth when we do the category breakdowns, but Sentimental Value, it's just a beautiful film, and I recommend you check it out. Sentimental Value is available to rent. The film is also nominated for Best Director for Joachim Trier, Best Actress for Renata Reinsve, Best Supporting Actress for Elle Fanning, Best Supporting Actress for Inge Ipsdottir Lilje, Best Supporting Actor for Stellan Skarsgård, Best Original Screenplay, Best Editing, and Best International Feature. And I would recommend the film to anyone who enjoys intimate family dramas and films about filmmaking. Coming in at number 4, Marty Supreme. Written by Ronald Bronstein and Josh Safdie. Directed by Josh Safdie. Marty Mauser, a young man with a dream no one respects, goes to hell and back in pursuit of greatness. The film stars Timothée Chalamet, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Odessa A'zion. Marty Supreme is rated R for language throughout, sexual content, some violent content / bloody images, and nudity. And from here down 4 through 1, these are films that I all just talked about in a couple videos ago. My 2025 releases video, my favorite movie, themed Letterboxd 4 video, is like my favorite movies of 2025 essentially, or picking just kind of my Letterboxd 4 of that. And I picked my top 4, and they all happen to be 4 Best Picture nominees, which is just goes to show you again how absurd this is, like how such a stacked year, where my 4 favorite films are all Best Picture nominees, and then Sentimental Value and Begonia I think are both top 10 films of the year for me, and Frankenstein is like 11 or something. It's just right outside, and so it's just, there's so many films that are all Best Picture nominees that are like my favorite films of the year. Marty Supreme, again, I think these 4, I think I'm going to be even briefer with, because I'll put the link in the description where I just gushed about these 4 films a ton in that video, so we're going to be pretty brief here. But Marty Supreme, it's a whole lot of fun, high energy. It's not a film for everyone. Obviously, it's the style of filmmaking. You have to be willing to kind of subject yourself to some tense and uncomfortable and really nerve-wracking situations with these characters, because they just it's one of those where it's almost like the story board, the way that the Josh Safdie specifically writes his films between Good Time, Uncut Gems, and this. It almost feels like he starts with a character and he says, okay, here's a character, here's a situation that happens, here's the two choices he can make. How does he respond to the situation? The right choice, the wrong choice. And every time he picks the wrong choice. Okay, so he makes the wrong choice. Now this is the result that happens because of it. Now a second situation presents itself. Right choice, wrong choice. What does he do? Okay, he's going to choose the wrong choice. So then we branch off over here. Here's the consequences. Here's what's happening. Right choice, and it just feels like that's how the screenplay is written, and so it creates such an exciting and crazy like viewing experience for the audience, because you're watching someone. And like, remember, one of the big complaints about Marty Supreme was so many people were complaining that he's not a likable character, he's not easy to root for. And for me, it's like, that's kind of the point. You're not exactly supposed to root for him because he keeps making the wrong choices. Maybe you root for him to make the right choice, but he continues to not do that. And so it's a character that's like, you're not really supposed to relate to him. Maybe you can relate to his drive or ambition or whatever, but not to the extent of like the harm that he's doing to people and what he's doing to everyone around him. So there's a whole lot of things where I can understand why this isn't a film that's going to be for everyone, but the situations and the absurdity of continually making the wrong choice over and over again just creates a fun viewing experience and creates these intense and insane situations. And so I just think that it's a blast. I have fun with it, but I understand it's not for everyone. Marty Supreme is playing in select theaters and is available to rent. The film is also nominated for Best Director for Josh Safdie, Best Actor for Timothée Chalamet, Best Original Screenplay, Best Editing, Best Casting, Best Cinematography, Best Production Design, and Best Costume Design. And I would recommend the film to anyone who enjoys chaotic filmmaking that leaves you on the edge of a panic attack for the entire runtime. Coming in at number 3, One Battle After Another. Written by Paul Thomas Anderson, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. When their evil nemesis resurfaces after 16 years, a band of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, and Chase Infinity. One Battle After Another is rated R for pervasive language, violence, sexual content, and drug use. Now, One Battle After Another is the likely Best Picture winner. I think it's going to go on to win. And I do obviously really enjoy it. My third favorite film of the year. It's third here on my Best Picture rank. It doesn't quite have what the top two have for me in terms of just kind of like really making me love the film. So that's why it's going to kind of sit here at 3. But it's a phenomenal film. Again, the link for the video where I'm going to talk about it a whole lot more is in the description if you want to hear. I think I talked about One Battle After Another for almost like 10 minutes in that video. So if you want to hear more complete thoughts, what I'll say here is just that all the acting across the board is phenomenal. Chase Infinity was robbed of a Best Actress nomination. She should have got in there. The fun thing about pretty much everything 3 through 1, all of these films, they all have kind of your main characters, but then they have these young newcomer actors that come in and they're the heart of the film. They're the heartbeat. They're what makes the film go. And in this film, it is Chase Infinity. Her role, everything she's doing in this film, it is just emotional. It's beautiful. She is a star, and she's going to be in so many things. I can't wait to see the rest of her filmography, because she's going to be a star. But obviously, kind of the real star of the film, you got to give some credit again to Leo. He's obviously doing an excellent job of kind of anchoring this film. But it really is Paul Thomas Anderson. The screenplay, the story that he decides to tell, the way he decides to tell it. This is a film that I think could have been told in kind of a more, I don't want to say like traditional way, but if you're looking at a film about revolutionaries and you're looking at them freeing, kind of these human rights issues, the way that they're freeing these people from these camps, it's kind of this at the beginning of the film. It's a film that could have been told from that perspective, and that could have been the whole thing, and it could have been like this real kind of statement on that. Instead, what it is you kind of get this first act where we see that that's the message, and we understand that that's what's going on. The whole kind of central point of Tiana Taylor's character. We understand that's what's going on, and then all of a sudden, it kind of the second or the next 2/3 of the film, it's all of a sudden it's like, okay, we established this. You kind of understand the politics, you understand the message that's being told here. Now, what if we just looked at it from this kind of crazy chase sequence, this crazy rescue mission that is a part of what we talked about in the first, the revolutionary stuff from the first act. What evolves now, it becomes super personal, super intimate, and it becomes this story for the next two-thirds of the film. And I just think that is just brilliantly told. It makes the film very intense in the first act, and then all of a sudden becomes this kind of more not lighthearted, but there's some more jokes, there's some more chuckles, there's some things going on, but all of a sudden it's like you're getting that into this very intense chase cat and mouse game. Like, it's just a masterclass really in the filmmaking here. It's a phenomenal film. You probably have already seen One Battle After Another, because it's one of the biggest films, if not the biggest film of the year, but if you haven't, definitely check it out. One Battle After Another is available to stream on HBO Max. The film is also nominated for Best Director for Paul Thomas Anderson, Best Actor for Leonardo DiCaprio, Best Supporting Actress for Teyana Taylor, Best Supporting Actor for Benicio del Toro, Best Supporting Actor for Sean Penn, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Editing, Best Casting, Best Production Design, Best Cinematography, Best Sound, and Best Score. And I would recommend the film to anyone who enjoys top-tier filmmaking and films with political themes. Coming in at number 2, Hamnet. Screenplay by Chloe Zhao and Maggie O'Farrell. Directed by Chloe Zhao. The powerful story of love and loss that inspired the creation of Shakespeare's timeless masterpiece, Hamlet. The film stars Jessie Buckley, Paul Mescal, and Emily Watson. Hamnet is rated PG-13 for thematic content, some strong sexuality, and partial nudity. And if you've watched my channel at all over the last, however many videos, I think it was pretty obvious what my top 2 was going to be. Maybe the order was kind of a little bit up for debate, but it was pretty clearly going to be Hamnet and then the other film, because they're the 2 5-star films for me, the 2 that I was the most emotionally moved by. Well, I guess the other one not as emotionally moved, but this one really, the big strong case and push for this was just how moved emotionally I was by this film. It is a beautiful film that starts off and it's very intimate and it's very personal, but it's kind of one of those that even if you don't, there's been a lot of discourse I've seen on Twitter of like some people acting like it was this big surprise that it's about Shakespeare, but it's so clearly obvious. I think like I'm shocked that some people like acted like that was some big kind of reveal or whatever in the third act, because it's so clearly about, we got William Shakespeare, you got Agnes, Anne Hathaway, you've got their family, and you've got a character named Hamnet, and it's very obviously about the tragedy of Hamlet. Like, you can tell that his life, his story, where it's going, you understand from that point forward, where it's like, okay, now this is not about like the making of Hamlet, but just kind of like the events that inspired William Shakespeare to write the play and to find that play as a way to express like his grief and to put it onto the stage and talk about it, essentially, in a sense. And so I just think that it's a beautiful film, but it's one of those that there's so many moments of beauty and lovely scenes and filmmaking and stuff in the beginning, but you understand as you're watching the film that tragedy is going to happen. Obviously, something is going to happen. This is going to get sad. It's going to reach a point where we get to the point where, toward the end of the film, we're obviously going to see Hamlet. Like, we're going to see the play. And so it's a film that is kind of told in this very unique way that I kind of initially, before going into it, I kind of thought that maybe I would appreciate it as a good film, but maybe it wouldn't connect with me, or maybe I wouldn't be a film that I like come away saying I loved. But again, because of how personal, how beautiful it is, it's so easy to say that this is one of my favorite films of the year, top 2 film of the year for me, and I absolutely love it. Hamnet is available to rent. The film is also nominated for Best Director for Chloe Zhao, Best Actress for Jessie Buckley, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Casting, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, and Best Score. And I would recommend this film to anyone who enjoys beautiful filmmaking and getting in touch with their emotions while watching a film. Coming in at number 1, Sinners. Written by Ryan Coogler, directed by Ryan Coogler. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. The film stars Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and Miles Caton. Sinners is rated R for strong bloody violence, sexual content, and language. And I think that Sinners was the most obvious number 1, because I think it's the number 1 film for a lot of people. Like, it is most people's favorite film of the year. It's that well done, that well made. It's just a phenomenal film. This one in particular is going to be the one that I think I'm going to talk the least about. 2 parts. 1, because, again, the link in the description for my themed Letterboxd 4 series, where I talk about this film for, again, probably a solid 10 minutes. So you can go watch that. But also because Sinners, broke the record for the most Oscar nominations. And so over the next month leading up to the Oscars, when I do my category breakdown videos, we're going to talk about every single aspect of this film. Like, we are going to tear this film apart, talking about things like its production design, its cinematography, its visual effects, its costumes, its hair and makeup, its acting, its directing, its screenplay, its song, sound, score, like everything. It is nominated for essentially just about every category that, like, the only things it wasn't nominated for was animated film, international, documentary, short category. Like, it got essentially, I'd have to think about that. Is there a single category, like lead actress, but then I don't think, unless you're saying that Haley Steinfeld is the lead of the film, like there isn't really necessarily a lead actress in the film. But other than, like, I can't think of anything else that it could have possibly been nominated for that it didn't get a nomination. Because it's in original song, it's in score, like it's in sound, editing, visual. Like, I think essentially just about sweeped every single category that could have been in. So again, we are going to absolutely dissect this film a ton over the next month. I will just say that Miles Keaton, pretty much the last three films, I didn't talk about him in the last section, but Jacoby Jupe for Hamnet, Miles Keaton, Chase Infinity, three just kind of young actors, breakthrough debut performances for some of them, that all became not the lead of their film, but the absolute heart, and became the characters that you're rooting for, and what make the films beautiful, enjoyable, all excellent performances. Michael B. Jordan does an excellent job of playing two characters, and it's not in some kind of gimmicky way where it's like, he plays the one character and then all of a sudden you find out midway through that he's got this secret twin brother and he's kind of playing them, and then it's kind of like they don't share a lot of scenes together, or if they do, the camera's not, showing them both. He's playing the two essentially main characters of the film, Smoke and Stack, and they're on screen together the majority, maybe not the majority, but quite a bit of the film where you're watching both characters. And so the VFX work of making them interact and passing the cigarette to each other and like everything, it's just so excellently done. I'm going to, again, I don't want to go too crazy because I will just start talking about Sinners for another 10 plus minutes. We're going to talk about it so much over the next month, so stay tuned for those category breakdown videos. Sinners is available to stream on Prime Video. The film is also nominated for Best Director for Ryan Coogler, Best Actor for Michael B. Jordan, Best Supporting Actress for Wunmi Masaku, Best Supporting Actor for Delroy Lindo, Best Original Screenplay, Best Editing, Best Casting, Best Cinematography, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, Best Score, and Best Original Song. And I would recommend this film to anyone who loves a horror film that's not solely reliant on jump scares, and if you enjoy a film that excels at everything films have to offer. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below in the comments how you would rank the Best Picture nominees of the ones that you've seen. If you've seen all 10, I would love to see your ranking, but just let me know down below what you think of these films. And then again, also, over the next month, going to do all the category breakdown videos. The last one that we'll upload in that series will be the Best Picture category breakdown. And so in that video, I will update you on if anything changes, but what I can guarantee is I don't think Sinners is going to change. That just was my favorite film of the year, so it's going to stay in there. But we'll as I watch all the films again, as I talk about them over the next month, we'll see how my feelings change for any of those films. And if you would like to like this video and then subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes in my Oscar content series, as well as just any of the other series that I have going on my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.